Puerto Rico's dying, and it seems like living here is becoming impossible for locals. In the year 2000, there were nearly 4 million people here. And now it's projected that in the year 2100, there'll be less than 1 million. How did this island go from a tropical paradise with a rich culture to a nation that's barely hanging on and struggling to hold on to its people? Let's talk about the uncomfortable truth no one wants to admit. Puerto Rico's bleeding talent. The young people, the future builders, the leaders, the creators are all leaving in droves. We're not talking about a few, we're talking about thousands of people leaving every year, heading to the U.S. mainland. Some leave for better jobs, and others are leaving because they just can't afford to stay. And that creates a chain reaction. The workforce shrinks, fewer new businesses open, investments dry up, and the economy keeps getting worse, which pushes even more people out. This is a death spiral. And nowhere is it more obvious than in housing. We have young professionals that want to stay, but there's no way they can afford the price of homes today. And here's the insult on top of injury. There are houses all around the island that are literally rotting in place. Empty, abandoned, distressed zombie houses falling apart. Locals are starting to feel like the island's turning into another Hawaii. Beautiful island that they're going to one day no longer be able to afford to live on. The housing crisis feeds itself, and there's one little-known pressure point where the whole cycle begins. People think it's foreign buyers pricing out locals or crypto bros escaping taxes from the U.S. The truth is, it goes much deeper than that. It's rooted in the very laws that govern Puerto Rico itself, and these laws go back a century. Here's where it gets crazy. The truth is, that's just the surface. The deeper cause: inheritance laws. Let me break it down. When somebody dies on the island of Puerto Rico, their property doesn't just pass on to one person. It gets split between all of the heirs. Sometimes could be 5, sometimes could be 10 or 15. We've even seen deeds that have 20 or 30 people on it. Many of those people who are heirs don't live on the island. Some of them won't respond to their family members. Some refuse to sell. Others want to sell but can't get the rest to agree. So what happens? Nothing. The house sits, it can't be sold, it can't be financed, and it can't be rehabbed. It just rots. You see these zombie houses all over the island. No one talks about them because technically somebody owns them. But they're not livable. They're hardly even fixable for most people. They're just stuck in limbo. Let me talk about a real-life example, and I actually did a short on this about a year ago. It kind of blew up for us. It's gotten hundreds of thousands of views, and it's really caused some controversy. We were trying to buy a property in Playa Corsica, in Rincon, next to another property that we already own. So we actually owned everything around this property, which was the reason that I was talking to the heirs and trying to buy it. When I first started out, I was talking to a lady who was in Florida, and she seemed to be running the show. She had most of her family ready to sell, and we agreed on a price. The problem was there was one sister who wouldn't agree. She hadn't been seen since 1992, and she was assumed dead, but she'd never been declared dead. So nobody, even though the rest of them were agreeing to sell, could sell the property until the lady got declared dead. So we started to go through the process of having this lady declared dead, and another one of the heirs died. And then what happened? He had 5 kids. All of a sudden, we go from 9 to 14, and it just became a real mess. So fast forward to today, at the end of about 2 years of negotiating, I just stepped away. I couldn't take it anymore. And somebody else came along, another real estate investor. They bought the house. At the time that they bought the house, there were 22 heirs. Keep in mind, when I started out, there were 9. One of them had been missing since 1992, so there were really 8 that we had to get into the room. But it did never happen for us. It happened for the next lady. She fixed the house up, and now it's back on the market. What a shit show, though. It really was a disaster. And guys, this isn't rare either. There's a couple 100,000 homes or more on the island that are stuck in a similar situation. That's almost 1/3 of the entire housing stock for the island. Once you understand how these laws came to be, you realize this mess was never an accident. These laws weren't written with modern Puerto Rico in mind. They came from Spain, brought over when the island was still a Spanish colony. They were built to protect the wealthy landowners, to keep lands in the bloodline. These laws weren't put in place to make sure people have homes. So unless you make a plan now, unless you create a will, or better yet, transfer your assets while you're still alive, are locking your kids into the same trap. And look, I'm not a lawyer, But I've been in this game for over 25 years. And if you don't plan for your death, and the government will plan it for you. And it'll leave your kids and your grandkids with nothing but a decaying house that they can't fix, they can't sell, they can't live in it. These things, having a will and that kind of stuff, can protect you today, but they don't solve for the bigger problem. There are still hundreds of thousands of homes that are stuck rotting, and no one can fix it except for you, the local real estate investor. Here's where my team comes in. We've bought and sold over 200 homes on the island of Puerto Rico. I've got people on the team that specialize in unlocking these zombie houses. They will track down the heirs, negotiate win-win deals, and then the best part is we put them back into the hands of the local families who need them. This is one of the ways that we like to solve the supply problem and force equity. Value-add renovations, guys. We take these zombie homes and turn them into the nicest house on the street. That's value add. You can do it too, even if you've got no money, don't have a license, don't even have a college degree. And here's how to start. Pick a neighborhood that you know. Maybe it's the place that you grew up. Maybe it's the neighborhood you live in right now. Drive around, look for the zombie houses. Those are the ones with the no windows, boarded up maybe, got the high grass. You see them, you know what they look like. Get out of your car and ask around, knock on neighbors' doors, see if you can get someone to tell you who the hell owns that house. Once you find the person or one of the persons that owns the house, this is where the opportunity begins. This is where the conversations will start. You're not just finding a deal. You're helping to fix a broken system. Real estate investors get paid to solve problems. We say that all the time on this channel. And if you want a shortcut, join our free Flip Flop Flipper community. Comment yes below, and I'll send you the link. And inside there, you're going to have the tools. You can get the training. You can partner with people. You can certainly network with others who've done it before you. And you can get your first deal done, even if you're broke.